All right, this is an interview for the Eat Street Oral History Project, sponsored by the Whittier Alliance. It is Saturday, April 22nd, 2017, and I'm here at the Whittier Alliance office with Harry Singh, who owns and operates Harry Singh's Original Caribbean Restaurant. Brad Baker is video recording the interview. My name is Kim Hakela. I own and operate Spotlight Oral History. Today I'll be talking to Harry about his personal background and experiences, the history of the restaurant, and being part of Eat Street. So welcome, Harry, and thanks for doing this.
You're welcome too, yeah.
So Harry, if I could just have you, even though I just said it, state and spell your name.
Today's date?
Your name.
Oh, Harry Singh, Harrysingh.
And what is the current address of your restaurant?
2653 Nicollet Avenue, South Minneapolis, 55408.
Okay. And I know that you've been located in a variety of places, and we'll get to that in a few minutes, but how long total have you been running your restaurant?
33 years.
33 years. Okay. And do you live in the neighborhood? Do you live in Whittier?
No, I live in Northeast Minneapolis.
Okay. And just one final kind of introductory question, and that is, how do you identify yourself racially or ethnically? What is your background?
My background is being born in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago, as a West Indian or Caribbean individual, you know.
All right, thanks. Okay, so you answered my next question, which is where you were born, and what year were you born?
1945, 3rd of January.
Okay, 1945. And now Trinidad and Tobago are two islands, right? And which one were you born on?
Trinidad.
Trinidad.
It becomes similar to Minneapolis, St. Paul's.
Okay.
But one
One country,
Yeah.
two
islands.
two islands. Okay. And how many, were there other kids in your family? Do you have siblings?
Oh yeah, I'm the eldest of 7 kids.
Just of 7.
5 boys and 2 girls.
Okay. And what did your parents do for work?
They were a regular domestic family, you know.
Okay. So there was no history in your family of people running restaurants?
Not really, no. I mean, they cook, in those years, they cook from the house, but not in an establishment, you know.
Okay. Okay. And what language or languages did you speak at home?
English,
Do you speak other languages
No.
besides English?
no.
All right. So tell me a little bit about, so 1945 you were born.
Yeah.
What year did you come to the United States?
Oh, I came here in July of 1970.
July of 1970. So you were what, 25? Something like that?
25, yeah.
Okay. And what led you to the United
Well,
States?
the purpose was to attend school in Minneapolis, you know. Advertisement, and I applied and I got through to go to school, you know, to get your visa and the requirements, then entry into here. And I did got it.
Okay.
And I attended schools from Minneapolis Accounting School, North Hennepin Community College, St. Thomas University. I graduated from everyone, 3 of those places, yeah.
Okay. So you started at a Minneapolis public school?
No, not
Public
school.
accounting.
Minneapolis,
The community college?
yeah,
Minneapolis Community and Technical College?
Yeah.
Okay. And
And
then
then-
North Hennepin?
community college,
Okay. And then St. Thomas
St.
University?
Thomas, yeah.
Now, did you go to St. Thomas in Minneapolis, or were you in the St. Paul
St. Paul,
campus? Okay.
yeah.
And what's your degree in?
Social work and public relations.
Social work. And did you use that degree? Did you work in the field of social
Yes,
work?
yes. I graduated in 77, worked until about 82 as a probation officer in St. Paul,
For Ramsey County?
in Ramsey County, yeah.
I was a probation officer for Dakota County for a few years.
right, and then I skipped that. And then the idea came to open restaurant, because during those years, there was nothing like a Caribbean or close to a Caribbean restaurant. I was the first one who started it off. Well, my wife and I should skip her out.
So what year did you get married?
Oh, me, I was married in 74.
So while you were in the United States?
Yeah.
Okay. Was your wife from the U.S.?
No, she was from Trinidad too.
Okay. Had you known her at home in
Yeah,
Trinidad?
yes. I knew her back home.
Okay. And did she come with you when you moved
No,
over?
no, I had to go back there,
Okay.
then come back here,
And did you have kids?
Two boys, yeah.
Okay. So what, once you moved to the United States, what was the most challenging thing for you to adjust to here in the U.S. or in Minnesota?
The most thing I confronted, summertime was okay, it was West Indian climate, but then here came snow, and that was the most crucial part. You had to adjust and readjust and put on all those thick clothing and, like that. That was, but I mean, the place in itself, I adjusted very good. People are people, anyhow you look at it. And you make friends as you go along from school to work, like
And-
that.
And so you ended up again in Minnesota where it's cold for many months of the year because of the schooling.
Yeah, school, yeah. But then again, I didn't know other states like, for example, Chicago, California, North Dakota. No. I stayed right here.
Okay. So I just want to back up just a little bit. So you said that something about an ad that you saw?
Well, you see, back on the newspaper home from different states, they had New York, Chicago, Minneapolis. You get clippings to come and go to school and to college, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And so I applied and I got it.
So that's what you saw when you were at home back in Trinidad,
Back in Trinidad,
Okay.
yeah.
and you applied and
Yeah.
got in and landed in. And what month did you land?
July.
That's
came
right. So it was
here.
nice and warm.
It was very good. Thinking it would have been like that, but then fall came and it started coming colder,
Yeah, I do know. So in these years, while you were in school and then working for Ramsey County and you are married, you have children, is there, and you said already that, you were the first person to open a Caribbean restaurant. Was there a big Caribbean community in the local area?
No, very scanty, very minimal. But then the majority of the customers were Minnesotans, put it this way. And they came, they tried it out, and until today, they're doing the same thing, But I have old customers who keep coming, repeating the process.
So, besides the fact that you were the first one to do this, that there was no restaurant like this in the
No.
Twin Cities area, tell me a little bit about making that shift from, being a probation officer to now you're running your own business and it's a restaurant.
No, well, a job is a job, and then I dealt with teenagers, and that was the most, how to put it, it was too, I don't want to say sorrowful or sorry, but it was too make you think ahead of time here. Like you, a mother or father, bring your kid, came to court with this kid, and here I am. Okay, 1 year or 6 months juvenile. And I keep telling my wife, I don't like that. I don't like to do that. And my boss, you have to do a job, just accomplish it, do it. Go by your guidelines, the state, the city. so that is why I quit. And
So you knew you didn't want to do that job anymore.
No,
And
after
so,
6 months or 9 months, I said no. I went home and told her we're going to open a restaurant somehow. And I did, you know.
and did you cook at home?
Yes, I
Okay.
cooked at home, yeah. Well, my mother taught me, so, you know, that was the basic lesson that will never go away, you know. How she taught me, that is what I do until today.
Did any of your brothers and sisters end up moving to the United States?
Yeah, but they stayed for a while and then they moved out, you know.
Did they go back home?
No. Yeah, two went back home and some went to different states until, like Florida, for example, you know, like that.
Okay. Now, what was your wife's response when you told her we're going to open a restaurant?
You're crazy because it have nothing like that here. I say, well, you don't have to have one like that. Let me be the first to do this. And that is how I done it.
And so what year did you open that first restaurant? Your first?
83,
83.
1983.
Okay. And where was that first one located?
That first one was located on 22nd and Central Avenue, Northeast, Minneapolis.
Okay. And were you living in Northeast at the time?
Yeah, same place.
Oh, so you've lived there all this time?
5 blocks from where I opened on Central Avenue, yeah.
Okay.
I lived 5 blocks up. you
Okay.
know.
So did you open on Central because it was close to home? And you saw
Yeah, that was one factor. But you know, I didn't know the setup about lease. When the lease expires, is either they renew it or they say, nope, that's it, you know, that kind of thing.
Okay. So when you opened, who was helping you?
My wife,
Just the two of you?
yeah, and
Get
then
this
we
going.
had couple help in the front and stuff.
Okay.
You know, school kids in the front, like waiter and waitresses, like that.
Okay. And how long did it take you, between getting the idea that you were going to open your restaurant and actually opening for business that first day?
Oh, that took about, I would say about 6 months. 6.
And in the space, in that first location at 22nd and Central, had it been a restaurant? The
No.
space, so you had to do some remodeling?
Had to get guys to remodel it and permits for this and all those things I learned about. You know, I didn't know about that.
So you just learned as you went?
The kitchen, and that was the first priority with the authorities, you know.
Okay. And how many people did that restaurant seat? Was it big? Was it small?
No, that about 40 or 50, I believe.
Okay.
50, yeah.
Okay. And what do you remember about your first day of business when you first opened your doors?
Exciting. You don't know how to approach the customers. It was exciting because you don't know who is who until about 2-3 weeks into a month. Then you get to know who keep repeating, you know.
Yeah. Did you have lots of business that first day?
Oh yes, very much so.
So had you advertised? How had you spread the
I
word?
didn't have the reason to do that because those food critic, anyhow you look on the city pages, on the Star and Tribune,
So-
I have a bunch of those clippings, old ones down there.
So that was your
magazine.
advertising?
Yeah, and that was it. And then once in a while, for certain occasion, I advertised with the city pages. With Dara, the food critic at that time,
Yep.
and we became friends over the years, you know.
Okay. Dara
Muscovich,
Grumdahl.
Grumdahl, yeah.
Okay. All right. So how long were you at that location?
About 5 years.
5 years. So about till 88, something like
Yeah.
that? Okay.
And
And then
then-
where did you go?
And I moved to Lindale and Lake
Okay. And why did you move?
because the guy Jim, he and his wife, family, sons, daughters, divorce business, you know. And she got the whole of the building.
Oh, the people that owned the place on Central.
And she wanted to run the restaurant, a restaurant, which was mine, you know.
Okay, so you were renting
No, I
on
was
Central?
leasing from them, yeah. But she broke the lease within 5 years. I couldn't do, I mean, you know.
So did she open her own restaurant?
She did,
Once you left?
but it didn't last too long, you know. It
So-
was an Italian couple, but
Okay.
she cooked Italian food, but it didn't stay that lengthy time.
Okay. And here you are 33 years later.
Oh, yeah, but they died, both of them died. Although they were divorced, they still died. I mean, death is death, you know.
Right. So by the time you moved to Lake and Lindale, you had been successful for 5 years.
Yes.
And how did you end up in that location?
Just by word of mouth from customers, they say, you come down south, it will be good. And it was very, very good.
Good spot.
Good spot. That was one of the best places I ever been, you know.
Really? Well, Lindale and Lake is busy.
All
Lots
the
of
time.
stuff. Yeah. Now, so how had your business or your restaurant changed in those 5 years between 83 and 88?
Well, it didn't, it got better, more, I mean, the residents up there couldn't, those who couldn't come didn't, but they still did once in a while. But over here was more of a hip place, you know. Everybody wanted to check it out, try it out, like that.
And so you had kind of a built-in customer base.
Clientele, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And by that time, did you have more people working for you?
Oh, yeah, I had about 4 waitresses and 3 people in the kitchen, 1 dishwasher, you know.
Okay,
1 cutting chicken, 1 meat, I should say, and 1 vegetables, you know, different people for different things.
and your wife was still involved?
Oh, yeah, well, she was the boss, you know.
Aha. And her name?
I had to classify myself like one of these guys too, do my cooking and put up or shut up, you know.
So you and your wife were equal
Yeah.
partners in this
Oh, yes, oh,
restaurant
yes.
business? Okay. And what was her name?
Anne Marie.
Anne-Marie. Okay. Now, what years were your kids born?
Oh, 1 was in 74 November and 1 was in 79 January.
Okay. Did your kids ever help you? out
Yeah,
in the
they do.
restaurant?
Both of them did when they get the age, but they actually grew up in the restaurant thing, you know. And then after a while, they started to go to school and mature and goodbye, you know. I mean, they still do once in a while.
So, Lindale and Lake, how long were you at that location?
Now, I stayed there until 92 or 93, I believe.
Okay. And why did you leave that
They,
location?
close to the first situation, family discrepancy with sickness, and the owner wanted it, and eventually he turned out and he passed away just as I left.
Okay. And so what was your next stop?
Uptown,
Uptown. Okay. And that was the one on Hannah?
Hennepin, yeah, close to Hennepin Bar and Grill, if you're the old bar, you know.
Okay. Okay. And so that was 92, 93, somewhere in
No,
there.
I moved from there in 2001.
From the Hennepin
Yeah.
Avenue location.
Hennepin, yeah.
You were there until 2001?
Yeah.
And then where?
over
then
there,
here.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You were 22nd and Central, Lindale and Lake, Hennepin, and then here. Those 4 locations.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So let's get us up to East Street then. So 2001, you came up
Yeah,
here?
well, I had to renovate this spot and make it back into a restaurant. And
What was it when you bought it? Did you buy it? I should start.
no, well, I had to pay the guy who had it. A Mexican guy was running how to say, like a home style bakery business, you know, and everything was scrapped, everything was illegal then. But to get the spot, I had to pay him to get it for me to install a kitchen and make up the whole works.
Okay, so did he own the building?
No,
So he was just
leasing it.
leasing it, and
Yeah. I
you,
went and bought out the lease, yeah.
okay, so you bought out the lease.
Because that was the only spot on Nicollet was available then.
Okay, so did you specifically want to be on Nicollet?
Well, where else? Yeah.
So,
I mean,
so it was already known as Eat Street by this time, right? So Jeremy Eggers writes the article calling Nicollet Avenue Eat Street in 1997.
you're right.
So it's already known. I mean, was that important to you? Was that attractive to you that it was?
It was, and then I found out from different people like Dara, you know, people I know, inspectors and stuff, and food inspectors, that is. And they say, yeah, go ahead. That's a good spot.
Okay, so I mean, because you've been in the business for a long time, you have contacts,
Right.
and they, you know, you circulate.
Right, and then, you know, the customers came, they were loyal. They still do until today, you know.
Yeah. So have you had do you still have customers, you were saying, at this
Old
location that you had from
yes,
the first place?
They follow and they keep coming, the old clientele,
Right.
plus new ones in the neighborhood, everything.
Yeah.
You know.
So once you then bought out the lease here on
Yeah.
Nicollet Avenue, how long did it take you to do all that cleaning up, renovating?
Took me a little while, close to a year,
Okay.
you know, to get everything passed and good.
Yeah.
Installation, those are the things that cost time and money.
Yeah.
You just can't go overnight and do it and have you and you. No. You have to have certified people do all of that.
So during that year, when, you know, you're not open for business yet, how are you surviving? Is it from savings from all those
Savings,
previous
yeah.
years of?
From previous years, save up a little bit and don't lavish, you know, until you get your thing going
Okay.
like that.
Okay. So then you must have opened for business there in 2002-ish, something like that.
A little bit after that. That run until 03.
2003. Okay. Okay. And so do you remember that first day of business here on Nicollet? Was it equally busy?
Oh yeah, it was very busy. Well, I mean, remember, while this place was renovating and getting it going, I had flyers going, I had big things on the window coming soon, and you know,
So people knew you were coming.
and they were aware of that. And then on the newspaper, the city pages, the magazines, they all put look out, you know.
So your loyal customers knew that you were going to be opening, as well as potential new
On
customers.
Nicollet, yeah.
Knew that this
Plus new ones in the neighborhood and stuff.
was, yeah,
Every little bit help when you're now doing a thing like that.
sure. So when you moved, whether it was while you were open for business or while you were renovating, did you have much contact with the other business or restaurant owners on Nicollet Avenue?
Oh yeah, I went and introduced me, but they know me. They all knew who I was, where I was, you know, that circle. They know, but I still introduce myself to the Chinese's
Okay.
clientele, you know.
Okay.
You know, yeah, and that's it.
Now, how would you compare running your restaurant here on Nicollet to some of your other locations?
Over here, it's good. It's a steady flow, you know. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's very combined clientele.
Okay. So from combined meaning in terms of where your customers
Neighborhood,
live?
one out of the neighborhood, uptown, you know.
Okay. And how would you describe your customers in other ways? Are they mostly white customers? Do you have a good mix racially?
Yes, I'll say about 90% is Minnesotans, you know,
Okay.
and the rest, you get a few Jamaicans here and there, but not in a high volume.
Okay. And do you think that's because, you know, I asked that about when you first moved to Minnesota, was there any kind of
No,
sizable Caribbean community? Is there now? Has that changed over the years?
oh yeah, that has changed over the years. It populated, more people came from, well, they keep coming from New York or Chicago like any other, but West Indians, you know,
Okay,
Caribbean people,
yeah.
different nationalities.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, they look for their own niche, you know, their own section, really.
And have there been, since you first opened in 1983, when you were the first Caribbean restaurant, I assume that you're not the only Caribbean restaurant now.
No, no.
Okay. How do you, besides the fact that you've been around the longest and you have loyal customers built in because of that, how do you distinguish your restaurant from some of these other Caribbean?
New ones? Well, I will, I will say that, well, who knows about it. But when people try out the new ones, the recent ones, what people do, they compare me or them to me. I mean, for example, like this pimento thing here. People buy food there and bring it in my restaurant and said, look at that. I said, well, you will take that with you where you got it. I don't want it.
They bring it into your
To
restaurant?
show me what they paid for, you know. And until last night that happened. That regularly happened.
And so are these some of your customers who have been coming to your restaurant for a long time and they try this one
Yeah,
and say,
but it's not like, I mean, the only difference with me, I could have had wine and beer many years ago, but to me, that's problem. You know,
so you don't serve?
I don't serve that,
Okay,
and I don't encourage it.
okay.
But you know, that just cause fight. It's still longer hours, all of that kind of situation. I don't want to do that.
Okay. So do you have any sense for how many other, I don't expect that you have an exact number, but are there many other Caribbean restaurants around, or is it still pretty small?
Small thing, yeah.
Okay,
Like these guys, they franchising around, you know.
oh, okay,
And this is what I was told,
okay,
and what I read about, yeah.
okay. Have you ever thought about opening a second location, having two running at the same
No,
time?
no, that's too heavy. As small as it could be, or as medium or large. And it's me alone, actually, so I don't want to do that. And I don't want to be in a partnership.
Okay. So right now you are running the restaurant?
Yes, with
Okay.
help, you know.
Right, right. So who are your staff members now? Anybody from your family?
Not really. My sons, they came on, I called them, you know, when I notified them, well, so-and-so date you have to be there, you know, like that. I mean, like I have a group of 50 or 60, which happens all the time.
Yeah,
I mean, they have to be there
yeah,
to do
Yeah.
something,
yeah.
you know.
And how many other employees do you have?
Right now, 3.
Okay. So it's a small, I mean, it's a small group of you.
Yeah,
Who
but they
runs?
know what they have to do because they don't have to do any cooking. I do all the cooking. Or,
Okay.
I mean, you tell me a Mexican can't cook Caribbean food. Let's say you're a regular customer. You will taste that. You say, oh, he didn't prepare this.
So there's a Harry signature stamp. on the
Yes,
food that
it
you-
is. Who knows about it? Yeah.
So are the people that you have working for you now, have any of them been with you at these other locations, or were they
No,
more-
no, since I moved here, yeah.
Okay.
No.
So let's talk a little bit about the food itself. What is a signature Caribbean dish that you serve?
The signature dish is the roti, you know, the bread, the flat bread, which you can have with curry chicken, shrimp, lamb or goat or vegetarian preferably. But recently, you know, with the craze with the jerk chicken and jerk vegetables, you could get anything like that. But from the West Indies, well, West Indian cooking, you'll find the curry more abundantly served.
Okay, so curry, roti.
Curry is the thing, yeah, and it's not hot.
It's not hot.
It's how you want it prepared, you know.
So
That is-
again, as we were saying before we turned on the recorder, your restaurant has a reputation for serving spicy food.
My restaurant, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I started off that way, and you know, it left a brand there, but it's not like that all the time. I mean, you could come and get your food as mild as you want, medium, hot, you know.
So you
It's
can
your-
order to taste.
You could order it to your taste, you know, the heat.
Yeah. So is West Indian food by nature spicier?
No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
this is how you could get it. Mild, medium, hot, extra hot. But people, you know, that brand, you know, I started off that. Because the first one to introduce pepper hot stuff was me. It was me with this hot food thing, craze, you know. And you know, coming down 70s, 80s,
So, and that leads me to a question, which is, have you had to, since you opened in 1983, have you had to or wanted to adjust the food or the way you prepare it to accommodate Minnesotans' tastes?
oh yes, I do that every day. Every day. It all depends on, I mean, he could walk in and say, Harry, make my food hot. And you could walk in and say, Harry, give me the jerk chicken, but way down.
So again, order to taste.
Yeah.
And you can
You'll get
do
the
that.
same thing, the same taste. His own will be hot, yours will be not hot.
Is there any other way that you've kind of changed your menu? Not only in terms of how spicy or how hot it is, but in terms of, I don't know, the thing, well, I guess you were saying, you know, you would prefer, kind of the preferred roti is vegetable.
You
But-
get rice, you get red beans and rice, roti, you get everything, but there is always room for adjustment in anything, you know. But the authenticity of the food in itself, I will not change. That will remain as it was from day one to now.
As you learned at home from your mother?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You know what I mean by that, like the spices could be tricky. That's not hot, you know, but could be tasty too. So I wouldn't change the spices to give you what? Nothing compared to Caribbean food.
And so what are some of the most common spices that you use?
Well, I use the jerk sauce, number one, the curry, non-curry, like a stew base type thing. And well, flour, you know, to make the bread, the flat bread, which is not like your burrito, just a piece of thin thing. No, it's tasty. It has flavor to it, you know.
So do you cook at home still? Or are you just at the restaurant all the time?
No, I cook at home because I alone live there. I mean, I could, what I feel to eat, I cook it, you know. And
So is what you cook at home similar to what you cook at the restaurant?
totally different.
Really?
Yeah, like if I want to make, for example, shrimp or fish or, you know, stuff like that. Not every day you feel to eat the same thing. I don't. I always feel to eat something different every day.
And is there And maybe it's roti, as you said. Is that among your most popular dishes for your customers? Is that
Oh
what they
yes,
come in
that's
to get?
number one, yeah, that's number one.
Okay.
Number one dish, like jerk chicken roti or vegetarian jerk or red beans and rice, vegetarian and jerk stuff is number one, yeah.
And I understand too that in maybe 2009 or so, you had a booth at the state fair.
I still do,
You still do.
yeah, knock on wood, yeah, I still do.
And how is that? Has that helped your
That-
business?
A lot, that helped the business right around, people from the whole nation come. Who visit that state fair, you find people coming from, well, I was at the state fair and I had this, I want that.
So they come into the restaurant
They
then?
come in the restaurant, yeah.
So are you at the state fair for those, what is it, 12 days every year?
12 days, but that most crucial days, yeah. But, well, 12 days when you get up 4 o'clock to go there, pick up the guys to work here, you're reaching home 11, 12 o'clock.
It's a long day.
And then you repeat that for 12 days by the time, that is why I close. After
Oh,
the state fair, I shut that thing down for 2 weeks.
Just to rest.
You're in a different world. Believe what I am telling you. You still hear the buzzing and you still do.
So do you close the restaurant during the fair also?
Yeah,
So you're
yeah.
just at the fair for those?
Well, put it that way, the whole period, yeah.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
Do you enjoy being at the fair?
It's work. I have to be there because if my sons and them get in a situation, they don't know how to get out of that or something, they call up on me.
So your sons are helping you at the fair?
So I don't leave, I just stick around,
Yeah. That's a long 12 days.
It's a long drag, let me tell you. 12 days, like 12 years sometime. It's a lot of work at the state fair, but I mean, it took me 18 years to get in there.
So you had been trying for that long?
For 18 years, yeah.
Well, how do they decide who gets a booth at the fair?
I don't know that, but all they told me, you're here till the end of time. That's all they told me when, we don't know why we didn't take you earlier, but you are here till the end of time. I said,
right.
well, that was good.
So have there been other major milestones in your business? I mean, besides the moves, from one place to the other, the state fair, any other major, events or particularly memorable periods from your restaurant?
Oh, you mean like cooking for celebrities or stuff like that?
Yeah, do you
I
have-
cook for a lot of people. How you call that guy play the flute now at the convention hall? Prince is one.
Really?
I cooked for him. He used to eat fish. And then after a little while turned vegetarian and then came back to, I cooked for Prince, I cooked for Nat King Cole, you remember the guy with chubby cheeks? Blowing the trumpet?
Not Louis Armstrong.
He came in the convention center a few times and I cooked and took it up there. Bob Marley's sons, I cooked for all of these celebrities. And a few around here too,
So these celebrities who are not from Minnesota, so they just come, they visit, and they hear about you?
Yeah, they were recommended, yeah,
Okay.
all the time.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I do that, but I figure food is food, You make it how they tell you they want it. Well, from the time you hear, like, for example, Bob Marley's son, Ziggy Marley, or one of them call up from 7th Street or downtown. Or a lot of people, a lot of celebrities, First, the first guy they look for is me,
And so when they come into your restaurant, do you shut it down to other people?
Yeah, most of the time. And then when they order a bunch, I still shut down and take it over,
Okay.
to whatever hall whatever place they perform in.
Okay, all right. And so are you happy overall with your location on East Street?
Oh yeah, the situation with East Street is good. It's great. It's a diverse, set of people comes and goes, Plus you have your regular clientele. Plus you have your neighborhood population that support you.
Do you think that the Eat Street brand is important to your business? Has it helped your business to be?
Oh
on
yes,
East
it did. And it's a mixed, as I said, a mixed culture. It's not one kind of people. Different position, different culture, as I said, and different people. You have all kind of people.
Has there been anything during your years in business that you've tried and that hasn't worked?
No.
Nope.
I stick to one thing and still doing that one thing.
Because it works and you just stick with it. Why mess with a good
Got
thing?
off the ground and it's a lot of hard work, but to keep that standard,
What have been some of the biggest challenges you've faced in your business?
I'm trying to remember. We had my wife and I. We had to make 3,000 rotis for a concert in Harriet Island. I think it was like not the Eagles, the Beatles people. And their subsidiary were having a large, huge concert on Harriet Island. And they called us up and we had to make 3,000 rotis, the bread.
For who? The Beatles who? Because
Yeah, those singers, performers,
Yeah.
So that was the hardest one, and that was the most thing that is.
wow, 3,000 roti, yeah. And what
That
did you?
was a lot of work. Oh Jesus!
How long ago was that?
That was when I now opened in the 80s.
So pretty early on.
Yeah.
Okay. And you must have had to recruit additional help.
We did.
Yeah.
Everybody I knew. Come and help. Everybody I knew. Load up in your car, in your van, in your car, like that. But plus, to help make them things too. Because as of today, I still do it. In the state fair, I have machine and stuff. But after this year, I'm going to put some here,
Some machines.
to ease up on the manual, not young as I used to be,
So it's for the roti, making the bread.
You
part.
could do everything, but here come the manual part of it.
Yeah.
That takes out a lot.
Oh, I'm sure. What was I just going to ask? I don't know. Oh, so the people, does anybody help you cook? Or is it only you cooking all this?
No, nobody helped me cook there.
Okay.
One will clean the place, one will cut potatoes and vegetables, and one is meat.
Okay.
3 different things.
Okay, but you are the master behind
Yeah,
it all. Putting
I
it all together.
marinate my stuff and cook my stuff. They don't really come around that stove
Okay.
because they know. No.
That's your spot.
I don't want them to come around there. They knows nothing about Caribbean food, so.
So that was what I was gonna get at. So you haven't trained anybody or had to train anybody?
No, it's kind of
specifically?
difficult to train like these Mexicans because number one, you have a culture barrier there. Number 2, a language barrier. Number 3, they wouldn't use the judgment what to do. All they're concerned with is time and the money,
So those are, your employees right now are Mexican?
Yeah, and right now I don't know how I stand with this situation with ICE, and they're scared like hell,
Yeah, I
That is
bet.
a frightening situation for me and for them and everything.
Have you had any problems with it so far?
Yeah, because they were down by the restaurant, they held about 5 or 6 people,
ICE has been?
ICE people. And when I see that, I thought it was drugs, but wasn't drugs.
It was just ICE out there.
But you wouldn't know they're ICE people. They look like cops, you know.
Right.
But no, I felt sorry, you know, you see. When I seen their cars and stuff were being towed, I say, well, it's drugs, right? Wasn't any drugs. They just seized what they had to go and 5 or 6 of them and the little kids and everything. That was bad, hard, no.
These were your employees?
No,
It's
no.
Other people that.
Other
yeah.
stranger, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that would be scary though, if you have employees who might be vulnerable to that.
So, you know, they're always on the hide and seek kind of. Not only me, a lot of people in that same situation, you know.
Yeah. So one of the things I think that makes Eat Street unique is that so many of the restaurants along Eat Street are owned and operated by people who are immigrants, who came here
Right.
from other countries, like you did.
Yeah, they do. I
Yeah.
mean, if you look at Greek to me, the Chinese, the Vietnamese, pimento number one, you know, next one, Chinese from China, you know, you have a variety. It's a combination of different nationalities and different ethnic background.
Do you think that's an asset?
Huh?
Do you think that's a good thing for Eat Street?
It is a good thing for anywhere you are. I mean, who wants one thing of the same thing all the time? Nobody. Always want to see something different. And there is no comparison to say he's better than he is greater. No. It's on an equal level, but you do your thing, and you do your thing, he do your thing, you know, and then you're still friends.
So is there anything that, you would like other people to know, what other Minnesotans, other people in general, about immigrants, given our current context and all the controversies about?
Oh, you mean all the controversy going on? I don't know, what could I say, just, the controversy is there, but these things pops up and phase out, and you just abide with it and be courteous, that's all I could say.
Okay.
You don't be condemning, you don't segregate yourself, no, that don't worth it.
What do you see for the future of Harry Singh's original Caribbean restaurant?
That's a big question as we sit down here today. I don't know, I told my sons whenever they're ready, I'm ready to take it.
Do you think they are
Yeah, they will.
interested?
They will do it, but I don't want them conflict, with two sons, you know what I mean, who really want to do it and really want to put your mind to do this thing, do it,
But they both have other jobs right now, other things?
Yeah,
that they're
both of
doing?
them,
Okay.
so that is the thing. So who want to take it, they know what to do, how to do it, that's the major thing,
So as soon as one of them says, I'm ready and I want to do this,
It's either one out of two things. It's either one of them get it, they stay a little bit, whatever they do, and then sell the damn thing, close the doors and go their way. That is the, the regular life. But then doing that, few dollars don't make you smart, they make you stupid,
Is there any other advice if somebody came to you and said, Harry, I'm thinking about opening a restaurant, what advice can you give me?
Oh, every day, every other week, I get two things. People want to buy that spot, people want to open a restaurant, and they all believe this. Although we have the strong swing Somalian people here now, you're finding people from not India, not China, how you call I forget the name of the little underneath India and China now. Which one?
Oh, are you thinking about Hmong people?
Not the
No, they're
Hmongs,
from Laos.
not the Vietnamese.
Bangladesh, What else is in there?
They
Pakistan.
look like Chinese, sort of. They look like Vietnamese people.
Oh, yeah. Oh boy, that's a sad statement about my geography.
Anyway, a lot of them keep coming and they want to either buy my restaurant or open their own. I say, you know, the better thing to do is open your own. I don't want to sell.
So you own the building now?
No, I just leasing.
Still leasing, okay.
But you see, people will want to buy that to get the spot and then renovate to suit what they want to do.
Like you did when you
Yeah.
came in, that kind of thing.
And time changing now too, everything changing if you look, everything. From the computerized world to the everyday life, things just don't remain the same, it changes. It changes in such a way that you say, am I getting old or what?
What have been some of the biggest changes you've noticed since you've been here on Eat Street?
Well, apart from the restaurant, you know, it's more of a diverse population. Although we have our nationals, you find more and more, I don't want to say foreigners, but different origins coming in.
Is that a good thing, mostly? do you think?
It is, it makes it interesting, but you know how that goes.
Some challenges.
Yeah, challenging times and you do what you have to do. And the bottom line, you mind your business, just, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way, I don't know.
All right. Is there anything else that you would like to
No, nothing.
say or get on tape?
No, that's fine, I'm good.
All right.
If only if you have a question, or,
We're right at 4 o'clock, and I know you have to get back
oh, that went quick.
to the restaurant. Yeah. So, yeah, I think we're good. I think
Okay,
you've
well,
done
thank
what we
you.
needed. Thank you so much,
Thank
Harry,
you,
for
guys.
doing
Yeah.
this. This has been great.